One. Hey, family, welcome to Mobile Knows Best on Spotify and everywhere your podcasts are. Um, I'm blown away and I'm excited about season three of Mobile Knows Best. I told y'all season three was going to be much different. I told y'all we were going to get into some super duper healing and some harder topics. And I feel like this is really important because when we talk about soul growth and soul integration and attracting better partners, nobody ever breaks down like some of the psychology behind why we choose the people that we choose. I think it most people just think it comes down to habits when in reality, when it comes to relationships, we really kind of just regurgitate the things that we know growing up, the things our mothers and fathers showed us, and kind of like the mindsets that um, kind of surrounded us in our formative years. So today we're going to talk about how to choose better partners. I had a few bullets, and I think we can't go on without talking about parental factors. Um, I can go back to growing up and being a young girl and seeing the dynamic between my mother and father. And although my mother and father got married, they got married young. They got married right out of high school. My father was about 18, 19. My mother was about 17 when he asked for her hand in marriage. I believe they got actually married around when she was around 18 or 19, and he was about 19, 20. And my brother was about one and a half. And that's how I know, because my mother was pregnant with him at 16, going on 17. So by the time I was born, they had been married a few years. They had worked a few kinks out, but they were also at the place where they realized, I guess maybe they were two different people and they were struggling, to be honest. So I was like that separation baby. And I think the interesting part is that I could feel the physical I could feel the tension between them 2, and it cut like a knife, like, it was a tension that never went away. It was like a cloud, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much relationships affect your children on what level. We assume that because they're toddlers or young children, that they don't have a concept of what that tension is like, but when I tell you how intelligent young children are, it will blow your mind. Um, I remember never seeing them together. Like, I was either with my father or I was with my mother, where I was in transition, and there was this thing of I wanted to see my parents together, but it wasn't happening. I couldn't make that happen, and I was, like, 4 or 5 when they actually did divorce. I always say I'm a miracle baby and I'm happy I'm here because my mom really was at the point where she didn't want another child, and my dad kinda coerced her, kinda convinced her, kinda sweet talked her into having a daughter because he wanted a son and a daughter. He only has 2 kids. So, it was important to him that he had his son and his daughter. And I'm happy that he was so vigilant because had he not been, I would not be here. This period, I would not be here. Shortly after the divorce, I was 4 or 5. Um, my mother moved across the country and never came back. She never came back for many different reasons. So the underlying issue I could see with the parental factors would be the fact that that instability was there. So when it came to my relationships, I was very much so okay with not being fully supported, like being a in my own individual. Yeah, I craved that, but I didn't know how to attain it because I had never seen it. I had only seen married, independent women within their marriages and within their relationships. So that kind of taught me that was the foundation, and that's how that was supposed to go, right? But over time, I realized that not only was that very toxic and divisive to relationships, I realized that that would be a blockage in the future because I felt almost uncomfortable being held in that way. And I feel like a lot of women that grew up around um, single mom wives, is what I'm going to call them, never quite understood the balance between um, being held, um, coming under a man's leadership and actually being your own individual as a woman and then that being okay. I think that that whole concept, it was kind of cringe. Like, wow, like the idea of a clingy partner, but in reality, you're supposed to want to be close to me and want to touch me and want to be around me and be sweet to me and be caring and loving. And those things shouldn't be love bombing. That should just be how it is. And I should want to be close to you and, you know, love the way you smell and hug on you. And when I was in those types of relationships, I noticed the softness that I embodied. I noticed the femininity. I noticed the malleability when it came to arguments, discussions were much more calm, much more peaceful. And so I'll have to say that it's like unlearning those unhealthy patterns